What's going on, JD?
Hey, Jermaine, what's up, man?
Evan.
Hey, it's Tom and Kyle here from I Got Soul. I just wanted to pop in and say hello real quick. I can't stay for the interview, but Kyle's going to do it. I want to say thank you for all the years of support you and love you showing us, man. We appreciate it.
No doubt. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, JD, I appreciate your time. We got to start off talking about the record Change, the new record that you put out, and super cool record. And what I love about it is, like, you got Eric Bellinger on the song. You got Wanya on the song. You've got Jack Ross, one of my favorite new artists, like artists from different generations coming together for a record. Like, just talk about the concept for this.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do something different that hadn't been done. And with this type of record, I had an opportunity to reach out to artists that I haven't worked with that I like, that I do feel like a new up and coming artist like Bellinger, Angel. I tried to sign Angel, Jack Ross. I think he's amazing. And then gospel artists that I hadn't worked with. That I've worked with, but I didn't get a chance to really like. Y'all haven't heard the music yet, so with the Smokey Norfield and just a crazy collaboration. That in the days of old, people would have really been going crazy over this collaboration because these people haven't made records ever together, and they just like crossing genres of like, oh, I never saw this. And then when I did the when I did this, I was talking about like We Are the World. So We Are the World was like the template of what I was trying to do, like create a song that had that type of impact. And if you remember or don't remember, We Are the World didn't have new artists on it. So I being a guy that's always brought new artists and gave people new artists, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, amazing record. And speaking of collaboration, of course, B. Cox and Jonte are a part of this record too, and they've been big in building what you have going on. Just talk about like the early days. When did you realize that people like Jonte, Manuel CO, Jonte Austin would be able to kind of enhance what you were doing? Because you're a one-man band, you can write, you can produce, you can do all of that. But at what point did you realize that these guys would be able to help what you were building?
I mean, they all have something I don't have, regardless if you could write or not. Like I just had a meeting with Manuel yesterday. Manuel is just a different type of animal. Just his musical mind. When I do things, because most of the time when I create with these guys, I start the creation of whatever it is that we're doing. So I start the idea, basically, not the creation. I start the idea, and then they start hearing what they would hear as a part of the idea. And I believe anyone needs that. I feel like if you have a big mind and big ideas and big spaces that you want to go, it's hard to, you could get there by yourself, but you also can get there with a crew of people, and get there in a way that you didn't even think that you would get there, right? So a lot of the stuff that Manuel did on, like, say, for instance, My Way album, when me and Manuel first really started working together, a lot of the stuff he did on the My Way album, I don't think I would have suggested.
Right. Okay.
A lot of that stuff he was just like playing, and I was just like, oh shit, okay, all right, let's use that. Same thing with Brian, it's the same thing. And then with Jonte, his writing skills and what he thinks about when he writes and how and where he goes mentally is just always going to be different than mine. We just think on a different page. So, I think, and that just comes from a space of like really understanding you as a producer, what producers actually supposed to do.
Yeah, it's putting it all together. And you and B. Cox did that with Usher, Don't Waste My Time, #1 hit on Urban AC record. I mean, that was a big record for us to hear because we just love that sound you guys come up with when you guys work together. What did that record mean to you to have another #1 hit?
Well, it meant a lot, basically, because Usher, it was his first #1 record in 8 years. You know what I mean? And I feel like it kind of got him back on people's radars. Like, even for him to have a new #1 record now with the new record, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, I didn't know he hadn't had a #1 record in 8 years on that chart anyway. On the Urban Adult Temporary charts, and it's a #1 is a #1. I don't care what chart it's on. It's a #1 record. It's a #1 record, and it's like to like I said, to put Usher back in that space after so long and after so many nights of being in the studios, it felt really, really good. It felt rewarding. Like, okay, we did our job. Now let's finish our job.
Yeah. And you guys are working on the album. Of course, I know the album is pretty much done at this point. I spoke to B Cox about it. A lot of great records. I've heard Believe, amazing record. Usher Party, I don't know if you finished that one, but like just talk about the creation and just putting that whole thing together right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we finished yet.
Okay.
Because there's so much time lapse that keeps continuing to happen in between. And I know he has his residency in Vegas, and so
Right.
he has to be finished soon. But I'm not sure if we actually are finished with the record yet.
Yeah. I mean, talk about the Believe record, because that's one that we all have heard a little bit of. I feel like that song is amazing.
Yeah, the Believe record is probably the most, I mean, I won't say the most amazing song we have.
Right.
It's pretty close to a perfect record.
I think
It's
so,
pretty
yeah.
close to a perfect R&B song as you possibly could get. And Usher is pretty close to a perfect Usher record as you can get. And I think that, that's why so many people talk about it. That's why so many people want to put it out.
Yeah.
It just feels like what everybody wants. It feels like the progression that everybody wants. It feels like right now, or it felt like back then. It felt like back then. It's just a song that's timeless compared to anything else that's out or anything else that we've done.
Yeah,
Thus
amazing.
far.
Yeah. And JD, I'll tell you what I love about you is like to us as R&B lovers, as fans, you're sort of like the bridge to these mega stars like the Mariahs or the Ushers. Like you've always paid attention to what the fans want to hear. Do you look at that as a responsibility on your end?
Yeah, it's my because the artists usually don't do that. The artists get
Yeah.
caught up in wanting to be artistic and what they want to do compared to what they already did.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always looking at what's gonna make the people move and what's gonna make the people champion what the person is doing prior to as opposed to getting on the internet and saying, oh man, this not what I wanted. I didn't want that. Because that's what the fans do now. They basically they basically write a review on Twitter
Right.
that basically tells other people, nah, I'm not buying this, or don't buy this, or it's whack, right? You want that first reaction. You want that first reaction on Twitter to be, oh my God, have y'all heard da 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 da? And once you get that, it's like a landslide of all of that. And I've always paid attention to that.
Yeah, I mean, I look at two artists, like one being Usher, one being Mariah. Like with Usher, earlier in the decade, he was dibbling and dabbling in the EDM stuff, transitioned over to the trap stuff. Like, what kind of conversations did you have with him to get to this point?
Well, a lot of times I don't pay attention to other comments unless they my records, basically.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
I see what people are saying.
Yeah.
I see what people are saying about the artist in itself, like but a lot of times I don't play, because like I said, I can't really judge when Usher's going where he's going other places if I don't produce him, and a lot of times what was going on and why they made these type of records. That's not I really don't have a real mindset on it, but
right.
I know when I'm getting ready to go in the studio with these artists, I'm paying attention to what's going on around them at that time. Like if I post and I'm saying like we in the studio, and then people start saying, I hope y'all in there making,
right.
That's the stuff I start paying attention to. I hope y'all in there making Confessions 3 or whatever they were saying, right? I hope Mariah come out with her new, I hope y'all in there making the next. I pay attention to that. I don't really pay attention to what they saying prior, but other than that, because I can't really do anything about the other records.
Sure. Yeah. Well, with Mariah, early on, you were one of the first to really put her on that urban sound with Long Ago, especially on that Daydream album. And like prior to that, Mariah was known as a pop singer. And I see comments even now where people wish Mariah went back to that sound, but there's a huge group of people that love that new sound that she has that transitioned her over to the R&B side. Like, just take me back to that era and, getting Mariah to record records like that.
I don't even know that I was the person that did that. Like, honestly, you saying that now, I'm like,
I think you are. Like, I was looking at Daydream, and like, she had the Babyface record, but Long Ago, that song stands out from all the other ones as like an urban record.
Okay. Yeah. You know, it's crazy because I never really think about that song, and I never really think about me being that person to do it. What I do know is that when I did Long Ago, I wanted to do a song that felt like me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to feel, honestly, Long Ago feels like a track that would have been on Xscape's first album.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like, and that's what I wanted. That's the reason why we started working together. She liked what I did with Xscape, and that's why we even started working together. So I was basically trying to go in that space, right? I was trying to go to what would I do for Xscape that would work for Mariah, and she gravitated towards that track.
Yeah, amazing sound. Now I want to talk about Jagged Edge here. That's your group, and I spoke to Brian and Brandon a couple of months ago when their album dropped, and I asked them what they were most proud of, with their career, and they said that they were able to create their own sound. And obviously you were behind a lot of their hits. They also took part in that, but like, just talk about them being able to create their own sound, because like I said, you're a one-man band. You could have easily created a Jagged Edge album by yourself and just gave it to them, but I think you gave them the freedom to create.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I'm glad we talk about this, because it was one time, this is the one group that we have, I won't say an issue, but we have an interesting relationship because of that, because they think a lot of times that I'm not giving them my all.
Yeah.
And I'm giving my all to other artists. And I look at them, like I tell them all the time, I look at them and respect them in a different type of way, because they are, to me, they're two guys that come to the table with a lot, and they do have a sound, right? They do have a sound that I noticed in the beginning that I fell in love with, and I felt like, I can make music for this, but I want y'all to continue to keep writing the songs that y'all write and put it on top of my music. I think it's every artist that I work with, I can't have the same rollout. And I think a lot of times people don't understand that. I try to find my comfort zone in everything that I work with. And Jagged Edge, they give me a different type of work mode to be in. I go in the studio with them, and I know it's like, if I make the best track that I could possibly make, these guys gonna write the best song on top of it. And that's the mindset. So I'm going in there trying to make the best track that I can make, as opposed to like going in trying to think of things for them to talk about. The only song that I actually gave them an idea about was Let's Get Married.
Right.
Let's Get Married was basically me telling them we should make a song called Let's Get Married. This is what girls are talking about, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Other than that, everything that Jagged Edge did, writing-wise, songwriting-wise, was these guys, it's their minds. And like I said, a lot of times they be frustrated with me because they feel like I'm not giving them my, like, you don't do that for Usher, you know what I mean? And I'm like, man, y'all different, man. It's a whole different space, and the way that y'all came to me is different. So yeah, I love working with them, but we have an interesting relationship because I don't write songs and stuff like that for them.
Right. It's kind of interesting. We've been revisiting albums over the last 20 years, and when we look at J.E.'s debut and then J.E. Heartbreak, it came out a couple of years later. J.E., the debut, obviously had I Gotta Be. But then when we look at some of their peers like Dru Hill and 112, they came out of the gate they had smashes right away. It took Jagged a couple of years. Like, what was that transition period like for you guys?
Well, it really didn't take that long. It took us going to Gotta Be as opposed to up-tempo records, right? And I think that just, sometimes I miss, it's just what it is. I don't think I nailed it with the up-tempo records. I think I nailed it with the ballads, as opposed to, especially on the first album, I think the ballads were more what sounded like what people wanted to gravitate to. And I wasn't, I tell people all the time, this is my first male group. So I didn't know exactly what to do. I'm going in there, from like, even just like on My Way with Usher's first album, I didn't know. I mean, not first album, with the Usher album I first produced. Yeah. That was the first time I ever worked with a male artist. So I'm shooting from the hip. I don't know if I'm making the right decisions So I mean, you know, with Jagged Edge first album, it was the same thing. It's like I'm thinking we should come with a up tempo record and
Right.
it's a male group and da 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 da. But the fans, once again, the fans and the public told me this is the song. This is the song. And at that point, I start realizing that's the sound.
Yeah.
We got to go with that. And that once you show me that's what you like, then I'm on that page.
Right. Amazing. Now let's talk about Dondria. That's an artist that I love. I grew up loving Dondria, followed her career from YouTube until now. And obviously you guys have a project together. It's still in the works. I don't know when that's coming out, but it's always interesting. Dondria recently just said on Twitter that she's been an independent artist her whole life. Obviously she has So So Def as her imprint. Like, how do you push an artist like that, where I think some people know Dondria from the record, but that was so long ago. And even then, that was when R&B was in such a weird place where, you know, we weren't seeing stars come to fruition. Like, how do you push an artist like Dondria in 2020?
I mean, she's vocally. I mean, you got to go with what I've always gone with as vocally, as a vocal talent. I don't know how many artists out there is like Dondria. I mean, she could sing you up under this table, basically. Like, and I mean, it's real. It's not a auto-tune-ish type of situation. It's a real vocal, and she can really, really, truly sing. The interesting thing about what she said on Twitter that people don't pay attention to is, You're the One was independent, you know? And we did an amazing job with it being independent. It was my first independent project that I had ever put out where I really was trying to go as far as mainstream as I could, being independent, me spending my money, me shooting. I mean, you know, I spent my money on everything. And it's one of the times that I don't really talk. It's one of the things that I don't talk about, but it's also one of the things that people don't pay attention to in me doing, right? The fact that people didn't pay attention to me doing it, it frustrated me.
Right.
It made me say, damn, I thought people would talk more about me taking this step in the independent direction and what I did with it and how successful she was with that song independently. But I never heard anybody talk about it. I never hear people even say much about it. And what I saw was like what happened on Twitter. People thought, they just assumed that it was just, it was on a major and blah, 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 blah. But it was, and if people stop assuming, they would understand what her journey is mostly like, right? Because like I said, I signed her to, like she said, I signed her to Island when I was there. Yeah. But when I left Island, I wanted to leave with Dondria because I felt like they didn't understand her. They didn't understand where she came from. I found her on YouTube. I didn't think they respected that type of artist at the time when I found her. So I was just determined for me to break her based on what I had found. And I found the outlets in ways to do it, but it wasn't. The people didn't pay attention to it. I think people looked at it like it was once again one of these projects that was in a label that did pretty good. It didn't do amazingly because it was, the label won whatever. That's how people perceive it. But it was definitely an independent project. Yeah, and I mean we're still waiting on that project that you and Dondria did. Like we've heard snippets of it. Is that coming out soon? Yeah, we're gonna come out with a record. I think what's gonna happen is me and her are gonna make it's gonna be a Jermaine Dupri Dondria record. Okay. As opposed to just being hers, because I just want to make sure that she blows all the way up, right? Yeah. And I want to make sure that she deserves to be one of the most talked about R&B artists ever, and it's important that I make that happen. Amazing. So the last conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, we talked about R&B artists really trying to find their way in 2020. They got to get creative with their promotion. I've seen people using OnlyFans as a platform now. Like, if you can, just give us some ideas on what you would do with an artist right now from the 90s that's trying to make it in 2020. Should they be sticking with their original sound? Should they be collaborating with new artists? Like, what's your mindset on that? From the 90s, I'm not really sure. That's too far back, personally. I don't know that artists from the 90s will work in 2020. That's too far back. Like 2007, 2008, somewhere around there, if you're coming from that place, maybe. But if you're from the 90s era, because the 90s would be what? Even like Xscape. Let's use Xscape for example. I think
Okay.
Xscape is making a new record from what I've seen. I've seen them in the studio, right? So I won't say that I think it's I think for a group like Xscape, they have to focus on vocals because that's the one thing that will never get old with them. Right. And I think most old artists, that's what you have to focus on. Older artists have to focus on what never gets old about them. The one thing that never gets old about R&B music is if you're an R&B singer and you can really sing, that's the one thing that never gets old. But other than that, I mean, you know, musically, you just gotta go with what you feel like you like now. Yeah. But make sure that you put your vocals into that. If you're an incredible vocalist from that era, like say for instance Wanya, right? Putting Wanya on Change didn't make Change sound old. Right. It made Change sound like, oh shit, they got Wanya on it. You know, right. You have to do that to have these type of. You got to do that type of production. To me, the production has to sound like it needs that artist, right? Yeah. Because honestly, Change needed that. I needed him to do that. I needed somebody to do what he's doing at the end, and personally, ain't nobody better. But you got to really set it up. You got to really set it up and show. Like even when I sent it to Wanya, and I told him I wanted him I wanted to hand off from where Neo was doing. I wanted him to take me out. He got it immediately. It wasn't even no ifs and buts about it. It was like, oh, this is easy. I'm gonna have this done for you in like 30 minutes. And that's what I'm saying. You got to put them in a position where they're 100% comfortable at doing what they do, and what they do works for what you need.
Yeah, amazing. Now, speaking of vocals here, I got to ask you, because I spoke to Rodney Jerkins about this, and his fear right now is that the consumers are really getting used to all the digitalization that's going on with the vocals, with the Melodyne and the auto-tune. It gets to a point where a general listener can't even notice those effects anymore. Like, do you see that being a problem in the future?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm gonna give y'all what is this? What's the word I'm looking for? It's not a world premiere, but I'm gonna give you an exclusive right here. Okay. The exclusive I'm gonna give you is that me and Anthony Hamilton are making an album. Right. Wow. It's gonna be a Jermaine Dupri, Anthony Hamilton record. Wow. And I'm saying that because I'm telling you that now because basically that's what I want to make sure people start paying attention to. The difference between people singing, people doing that. It's important that that's done. And Anthony is like, you know, he's a singing singer, right? Therefore, the records that we make are gonna be like, you know, great songs, but at the same time, he's gonna be singing. And if you love that type of singing and you love singers, then you'll start understanding the difference. But you gotta have material though. We don't have enough material out here that shows the difference. I think that's what I'm saying to speak to what Rodney's saying. You don't have enough material for people to understand that the difference. You know, you have more artists doing auto-tune sounding records, right? Than you have artists out here really singing.
Yeah, because even when I spoke to Jagged Edge, like their new album, they put a little bit of that effect on it. It's not super heavy, but you can kind of notice it, especially if you listen to them early on. And they just said, you know, that's what the kids like now. So that kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I don't believe that's what the kids like. I believe that's what the kids like from certain artists. Sure. Right? The kids like what they've heard. They like what they've heard, and they like you to figure. Like I said, people didn't expect Wanya to be on Change, but once they heard it, they start remembering how amazing he was, right? And amazing he is with the Boyz II Men records and all of that. And that's what you have to do. You have to remind them, and that's what I feel like this Jermaine Anthony record is going to be.
Amazing. And lastly, JD, I know you also worked with Monica on her new album. I think I've heard a little bit of it. You posted it on your Instagram a while back. I mean, talk about that song, because from what I heard,
I don't even know I was making a record, because I keep seeing her say that she about to put a record out. So I don't know. I haven't mixed the song yet. So you know, I don't know if it might not make it. Yeah, I was making an album.
All right, cool. Well, JD, that's all that we've got for you. Is there anything you'd like to add?
And like I said, I gave y'all an exclusive. Make sure y'all let people know that today. Because if
Absolutely.
not, matter of fact, me and Anthony start back in the studio tonight. So if y'all don't let people know, y'all ain't gonna have exclusive. Because I'm going up on the gram tonight when we get in the studio. So you gotta let them know today.
Man,
Right.
I got it, man. And I appreciate you for taking the time out for this, man. You've always supported us, and we always got your support too.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Make sure I mean, we need y'all to be as loud as possible for the R&B community. Like I said, R&B as a genre, it doesn't have a character really to me. It's almost being used like a background singer like thing now. I mean, R&B used to be at the front, and now rap is at the front, and now R&B artists are so scared to do what they do. They feel like they have to be like rappers and they have to do stuff like rappers, and we got to put the character back into R&B. So,
right.
yeah, please, keep doing what y'all do.
Absolutely. I mean, just traditionally, one last question. Like traditionally, we would think one person could bring a genre back, like an Usher, like a Beyonce. Do you think that's still the case, or does it take a collective group to do that?
Yeah, it could if the person has character. That's what I'm saying. You got to have a lot of character, and that's once again, like I said, that's the reason why I'm doing this Anthony record. We are trying to put the character back into R&B, where the things that happen in R&B, you can't tell before it's happening. You know, right now people automatically know. They seem to automatically know what they're gonna get out of R&B, as opposed to not as opposed to it coming like a curveball. So that's why I'm saying, like, this Jermaine Dupri Anthony Hamilton record is a curveball. Y'all didn't expect that to happen. It's coming. People not gonna expect it, and that's what it is. Like, you got to do stuff like that so people can start thirsting for the genre again, as well as understand that is character in it, and it's got just as much character as rap music.
Wow. Amazing. Well, JD, I appreciate your time. Best of luck, and keep us posted on that Anthony Hamilton project. I'm excited about it.
All right. Thank you.
All right, man. You take care.